Hi folks, and welcome to our tutorial for week 2 where we're covering ancient Indian civilizations. We've got a lot of material that we covered this week, and you know this because you went through the different Google slides and you did the readings. And really this week covered 4 kind of distinct groups of people. If you ever watched Sesame Street and are familiar with one of these things is not like the other, Buddhism is kind of not like the others because that is strictly a religious ideology or maybe something more akin to a philosophy. But we really covered 3 different civilizations, right? So Harappan civilization, Vedic civilization, the civilization of the Mauryan Empire, and then Buddhism, which straddles, actually grows out of Vedic civilization and very much informs the ruling strategies of the Mauryans. Harappan civilization is fun to explore for a whole variety of reasons. One, because it gets to the kind of this question of how do we interrogate a civilization, figure out what's going on with them, if we can't read what they produced in terms of a written language. Another way I think that these guys are quite fun is through comparative purposes and thinking about, hey, what traits do early civilizations share that develop independently in different geographic regions, maybe thinking about how those folks were similar to the earliest Mesopotamian civilizations, or maybe next week, what traits they share with or have different from early Chinese civilizations. All of them developed by rivers, that makes a lot of sense. They have those defining features of civilizations, but there's also some variation. And if we step back after the first 3 weeks, we might be able to say, it seems like all early civilizations have these traits in common, and they're different in these ways, and we might be able to think about why they're different. For this tutorial, I really want to focus on Vedic and Mauryan civilizations, and Buddhism, which, again, grows out of really the Vedic religions. Hinduism also grows out of that, and very much is adopted by King Ashoka, probably in a very tactical way with the Mauryan Empire. That means that for this tutorial, or for those 2 lectures, we're covering about 1,500 years or so, actually probably closer to 1,200 years or so, from about 1500 BC to the 2nd or 3rd century AD. That's a long chunk of time. That's like drawing comparisons between what's going on in the year 800 and what's going on today, right? In the year 800, Europe, for example, my specialty, is in what you might know as the Dark Ages. It's the time that King Charlemagne comes to power in Europe. That's a huge chunk of time. We need to keep that in mind as we're going through these sources. And I know it's very tempting to just say that these things happened a long time ago and to kind of lump them all in together. But we've got to recognize that a lot changes, a lot evolves over that time period. And so if we're treating this as a narrative, something that starts at one point and ends at another, one thing we might do is develop a bit of a timeline that helps us figure out what is where. And then another thing we might do is regularly remind ourselves that things have changed from when the Vedic people migrate into India, to when they settle down, to when their language gets written down, to when they split into 2 different groups, to when people start challenging the civilization with different ideas and philosophies, Buddhism being a great example, to when the Vedic civilization disappears, to when somebody is able to consolidate control over almost all of the subcontinent of India for the first time ever. So huge span of time. What we'll do for the rest of this is give a quick rundown of some important ideas from both Vedic and Mauryan empires, tease out Buddhism a little bit. But the first thing I really want to do is foreground the prompt we're going to look at. So we'll do that on the next page.